Okay, so are you like getting ready for job interviews and kind of want to make sure you just crush them?
Well,
Well, you're in luck.
you are.
We're doing a deep dive into answering tough interview questions for dummies.
Yeah.
It's a book by a chartered psychologist who's helped like tons of people
hmm
and even companies like figure out this whole hiring game.
Yeah, and what's cool about this author is that
Yeah.
he's not just an academic,
Yeah.
He's got real-world experience
Right.
and even media chops, think TV, popular press. So
Exactly.
he really gets what it takes to present yourself effectively.
It's like having a secret weapon, kind of.
Yeah.
We're going way beyond just like the usual dress sharp, be confident stuff.
Yeah.
We're gonna help you like decode job ads to
hmm
predict what those interviewers are really looking for,
Just right.
give you strategies for how to handle those really tricky like pressure interviews,
Uh-huh.
and we'll even talk about how to sidestep those illegal questions gracefully.
It's all about giving you that edge.
Yeah, totally.
So let's start by just looking at how to read between the lines of a job ad.
Ooh, I love this. It's like learning a secret language.
Right.
So it's not enough to just like say you're a good communicator.
Right.
There's got to be more to it.
Yeah, you got to have proof.
Okay.
So instead of just saying you're a great writer, be ready to discuss some specific documents that you've created, what impact they had, and the specific skills you used.
Okay, that makes sense. So like instead of just making a general statement, you have
Yeah.
to back it up with a real example. But like, doesn't that risk sounding like you're bragging?
Well,
Like, how do you walk that line?
it's all about framing it the right way. Focus on the problem that you solve, the process you used, and then the positive outcome that you achieved.
Hmm.
Emphasize the how, not just the what.
Okay, that's a really helpful distinction. So it's less about like, I'm amazing, and more about here's how I approached a challenge and made a difference.
Exactly.
What about like other keywords in those job ads?
Oh, yeah.
Are there any other like hidden meanings we should be aware of?
Absolutely. Let's say you see the word supporting.
Okay.
This usually means that they're looking for someone who is a team player, a collaborator, have some stories ready about how you've helped other people succeed, not just about your own achievements.
This is already eye-opening. It's
Yeah.
amazing how much information is like hidden in plain sight. So you've done your prep, you've researched the company, you know the job description like inside and out.
Mhm.
What's like the next crucial element?
Now we focus on how you come across. It's not just what you say, but it's how you say it.
Okay.
Body language plays a huge role. Up to
Yeah.
55% of communication is nonverbal.
Okay, here's where things get interesting. I'm ready for those body language hacks. So are you saying an interview is basically a performance?
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you're nervous, you need to project enthusiasm, bring energy to the conversation.
Okay.
Think of it this way. You're showcasing your best self, the self that's excited about this opportunity and ready to contribute.
Okay, so even if it feels like a bit forced at first, just fake it till you make it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here's a specific technique. Vary your vocal inflection.
Okay.
Emphasize key words just by changing your pitch. It keeps the listener engaged.
Okay.
No monotone droning.
Got it. Vary the pitch, articulate clearly, make eye contact. I'm starting to feel like a secret agent being prepped for a mission.
I like it.
But let's be real. Some interview questions are just plain designed to make you squirm. How do we tackle those tough ones?
You're right. Some questions are definitely meant to test you.
Yeah.
But there are ways to handle even the most unnerving ones. Let's take the classic, what is your greatest weakness?
Yeah.
It's almost guaranteed to come up.
Oh, yeah, that one makes me cringe every time. It
Yeah.
feels like a trap. Is there a way to answer, like, honestly, without shooting yourself in the foot?
Absolutely. The partial failure strategy can be a real lifesaver here. Think of a minor setback, something that happened due to factors outside of your control, and explain what you learned from it.
Okay, so for example, maybe like a project got delayed because a supplier dropped the ball,
Yes.
but it wasn't like your fault.
Perfect example.
Yeah.
But here's the key. Emphasize what you learned from that experience. Maybe you discovered a new way to manage timelines or to communicate with vendors. This shows that you're self-aware and constantly striving to improve, even when faced with challenges.
So that's brilliant, turning a negative into a positive.
Exactly.
It's all about like framing. Right.
Yes.
What about another like tricky question? What is your USP? I always struggle with that one.
The unique selling point.
Right.
They're asking what makes you stand out from other candidates. at your level.
Okay.
Think about your peers. What do you do differently? What are your strengths that set you apart?
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Instead of just like list of skills,
Uh-huh.
I need to like pinpoint what makes me uniquely valuable in the job market. It's about understanding my competitive advantage, right?
Precisely.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about competency-based interviewing. It's become incredibly popular,
Okay.
and for good reason.
Competency-based interviewing. That sounds intense. What exactly does it involve?
It's all about backing up your claims
Mm-hmm.
with like concrete examples from your experience. Instead of saying, I'm a great problem solver, you need to tell a story
Okay.
that demonstrates those problem-solving skills in action.
So it's like telling a mini story
Yes,
that highlights my skills in like a real world situation.
exactly.
What's the best way to structure those stories so they like really pack a punch?
That's where the STAR method comes in.
Okay.
Situation, task, action, result.
Okay.
Start by setting the scene, like what was the situation, what was the task you needed to accomplish.
Right.
Then describe the specific actions that you took to address the situation.
Okay.
Finally, what was the result? What impact did your actions have?
So it's not just about having like a good story. It's about clearly outlining.
My role in the situation and the impact I made.
Exactly.
But what if, like, interviewers dig deeper?
Oh, that's a great point. Good interviewers will probe beyond the surface.
Right.
They'll want to understand like your thought process, the challenges that you face, and how you overcame them.
I never thought about it that way. It's like they're trying to understand not just what happened, but how I operate under pressure.
Yes.
And, like, contribute to a team. So it's really about being able to articulate my, like, thought process and decision-making abilities.
You got it.
Okay.
And remember, practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
The more you rehearse these stories using the STAR method, the more confident and convincing you'll become.
Practice is key. But what about those curveball questions, the ones that seem completely random, like, tell me a story, or what animal would you be? What are they even trying to assess with those?
Those oddball questions can really throw you off, but try not to overthink them.
Okay.
They're often designed to just see how you think on your feet, how you handle the unexpected. So it's less about like the actual content of my answer and more about like my approach.
Exactly.
Opa.
Stay calm, show adaptability,
Uh.
and try to connect your answer back
Yeah.
to, like, positive, job-relevant traits.
Got it. Stay calm, think quickly, and connect it to the job.
Yes.
So if they ask me what animal I'd be, I shouldn't just say a sloth because I like to sleep.
Probably not the best strategy.
Okay.
Instead, think about an animal whose qualities align with the role.
Mm,
Are you a beaver because you're hardworking and resourceful?
right.
An owl because you're insightful and analytical?
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. It's about showcasing my personality and skills in a like creative way. But what happens if they cross the line and ask something like inappropriate? You know, those illegal questions that delve into like personal territory?
It's unfortunate, but it does happen. Knowing your rights is important, but directly confronting the interviewer can sometimes backfire.
Okay.
It's a delicate situation.
So how do you handle those like gracefully without like ruining your chances?
Let's say they ask about your marital status or your childcare arrangements.
Right.
Instead of getting defensive, try a graceful deflection. You could say something like, I don't see how that's relevant to my qualifications for this position, and gently steer the conversation back to your skills and experience.
Ooh, smooth. It's about setting boundaries without creating conflict. What if they ask about something legitimate, like travel requirements, but you have like concerns because of your personal life? Do you just have to like overshare?
Not at all. You can address those concerns without getting overly personal. You could
Yeah.
say, I'm committed to meeting the demands of this role,
Right.
and I'm confident I can manage the travel requirements effectively.
Right.
This shows that you're dedicated without revealing unnecessary personal details.
Okay, that's a huge relief. It's about finding that balance between being like professional
Yeah,
and protecting your privacy. But remember, an interview isn't just about them grilling you.
exactly.
It's a two-way street. They're
Right.
also interviewing them.
You are. That's right.
Don't be afraid to ask insightful questions that go beyond what's on their website.
That's right.
Think about like company culture, team dynamics, growth opportunities.
Exactly.
So instead of asking like, what's your mission statement?
Right.
I should ask something like, can you describe the like day-to-day work environment? Or what are the biggest challenges facing this team right now?
Precisely.
Yeah.
Those types of questions show that you're genuinely interested in thinking critically about the opportunity.
Okay.
And speaking of going the extra mile,
Yeah.
There's one power move you can make, even after the interview.
I'm always up for a good power move. Tell me more.
If you don't get the job
Oh, okay.
and the company's open to giving feedback, take it.
Oh, okay.
It might sting a little,
Right.
but understanding why they chose another candidate can be incredibly valuable.
I can see how that would be helpful, but wouldn't it feel like rubbing salt in the wound?
It's not about dwelling on the rejection. It's about learning and growing. It shows initiative and a willingness to improve. Plus, it can reveal blind spots you weren't even aware of, things you can work on for future interviews.
So it's about turning like a potentially negative experience into a learning opportunity. That's a great mindset.
Yeah.
Before we move on to part 2 of our deep dive,
Yes,
let's recap. Preparation is essential, but it's not just about knowing your stuff. It's about understanding how to present yourself effectively, even when you're nervous.
And remember, the interview is a two-way street. You're not just trying to impress them. You're also assessing whether they're the right fit for you.
That's right.
Ask insightful questions, gather information, and don't be afraid to seek feedback, even if the outcome isn't what you hoped for.
This has been so insightful already. We'll be back in part 2 to explore even more strategies for navigating the interview process like a pro.
Sounds good. You know, it's fascinating how many people, stress over the interview itself,
Yeah.
but then completely overlook the importance of the follow-up.
Right.
A well-crafted thank you note can really leave a lasting impression.
Okay. That's a great point. But I have to admit, part of me thinks thank you notes are a bit,
Yeah.
old-fashioned. Does anyone really read those anymore, especially in today's, fast-paced world?
Think of it this way. A thoughtful thank you note shows that you're genuinely interested and that you value their time.
Okay.
It also reinforces your key strengths and reminds them why you're a great fit for the role.
So it's not just about saying thanks.
Right.
It's another chance to, sell yourself subtly.
Exactly.
What are some, tips for writing a thank you note that really stands out?
Keep it concise and professional, but personalize it. Mention something specific you discussed during the interview, something that resonated with you.
Okay.
Or refer back to a question they answered that you found particularly helpful. It shows you were paying attention.
That's a great tip. It's like saying, I was listening and I was engaged. But, let's be real. Even with the best preparation, some people just, freeze up in interviews. Any advice for, calming those pre-interview jitters?
Nerves are completely normal.
Okay.
Even seasoned professionals get butterflies before an interview. The interviewers expect you to be a little nervous. It shows you care.
Okay, that's actually reassuring. But how do you, channel that nervous energy into something positive? Any, pre-interview rituals you recommend?
Practice, practice, practice.
Okay.
The more you rehearse your answers, the more confident you'll feel. You could even do, a mock interview with a friend.
Right.
Or a career counselor. And don't underestimate the power of, positive self-talk.
Yeah.
Remind yourself of your accomplishments and the value you bring.
Practice some positive self-talk. It's all about, building that inner confidence.
Yeah.
But, what about those moments during the interview when your mind just goes blank? The dreaded brain freeze. How do you, recover from that gracefully?
It happens to the best of us. If you get stumped by a question, don't panic.
Oh, okay.
Take a deep breath and buy yourself some time. You could say, that's a great question. Let me think about that for a moment.
Okay.
Or you could rephrase the question to make sure you understand what they're asking.
That's a clever tactic. It shows you're, thoughtful and composed, even when you're feeling the pressure. But let's say you really, fumble a question, give a terrible answer. Is there any coming back from that?
Don't beat yourself up. Everyone makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Acknowledge it, move on, and focus on acing the rest of the interview. Remember, the interview is just one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
They're looking at your resume, your cover letter, your overall presentation. One slip up won't necessarily disqualify you.
That's good to hear. It's about focusing on the big picture.
Yeah.
And not letting one bad moment define the entire experience.
Exactly.
Speaking of the bigger picture, what about after the interview? Is it okay to follow up? And how soon is too soon?
It's perfectly appropriate to send a follow-up email a few days after the interview, reiterating your interest and thanking them again for their time.
Okay.
You could even include a brief summary of your qualifications and how they align with the role.
It's a chance to keep the conversation going,
Right.
Stay top of mind.
Exactly.
But what if you don't hear back?
Yeah.
How long should you wait before reaching out again?
If you haven't heard anything within a week or two, It's perfectly acceptable to send a polite follow-up email.
Okay.
But remember, persistence is key, but so is respect.
Right.
Don't bombard them with calls or emails.
Right.
If they don't respond, it's probably a sign they've decided to move forward with other candidates.
Okay, so follow up once, maybe twice, and then gracefully accept the outcome. But what if, like, you get the job offer?
Then congratulations,
Yeah.
you earned it.
Oh,
But before you accept, make sure you fully understand the terms of the offer,
right.
including salary, benefits, and start date. Don't be afraid to negotiate if you feel the offer doesn't match your expectations.
Okay. Negotiating can be, like, intimidating, especially for, like, entry-level positions.
Yeah.
What's the best way to approach those conversations without, like, seeming pushy or ungrateful?
Do your research.
Okay.
Understand the industry standards for your role and experience level. Be confident in your worth, but also respectful and professional.
Okay.
Focus on the value you bring to the company and how your skills and experience justify your request.
That's great advice. It's about finding that balance between advocating for yourself
Yeah.
and maintaining a positive relationship with the company. But let's say you accept the offer and, start the job. How do you, like, hit the ground running and set yourself up for success?
Be a sponge. Absorb as much information as you can.
Okay.
Ask questions, seek out mentors, and be proactive about learning new skills. And don't forget to build relationships with your colleagues.
Yeah.
Networking is crucial for career growth.
That's a really good point. Building a strong network can, like, open doors to new opportunities and provide, like, valuable support throughout your career. Now let's, like, shift gears a bit and talk about a specific type of interview that can be particularly challenging: the pressure interview.
Ah, yes, the pressure interview. These interviews are designed to, like, push your buttons and see how you handle stress.
Okay.
They can be intense, but remember, they're not just trying to make you sweat.
Right.
They're looking for specific qualities that indicate you can thrive in a high-pressure environment.
So how can you tell if you're in, like, a pressure interview? What are some of the, like, telltale signs?
The interviewer might be overly critical of your responses, interrupt you frequently, or even challenge your qualifications.
Okay.
They might throw rapid-fire questions at you or create an intentionally uncomfortable atmosphere.
That sounds stressful. But if you, like, recognize it for what it is,
Yeah.
a pressure interview, does that help?
Absolutely. Knowing what they're doing can help you stay calm and collected.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, it's a test. They're trying to observe how you react under pressure.
Okay.
Stay focused, maintain your composure, and don't take their tactics personally.
It's like a mental game, You
Yeah,
have to, like,
okay.
outsmart them by not letting them get to you. What are some, like, strategies for handling those pressure tactics?
One effective strategy is to pause before responding.
Okay.
It gives you time to gather your thoughts and avoid getting flustered. And if they interrupt you, politely acknowledge the interruption
Right.
and then finish your thought.
That's a really good tip. It shows you're, like, in control even when they're trying to, like, disrupt your flow. What about those questions that seem designed to, like, trip you up, where any answer feels like a wrong answer? How
Right.
do you navigate those?
Sometimes interviewers ask questions that don't have a clear right or wrong answer. They might ask you to choose between two bad options or present a hypothetical scenario
Right.
that puts you in a difficult position.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, they're not necessarily looking for a correct solution.
Okay.
They're interested in your thought process, your problem-solving skills, your ability to think critically.
So it's about explaining, like, my reasoning
Yes.
and demonstrating my ability to, like, analyze complex situations, even if there's no, like, easy answer.
Exactly.
What about those, like, illegal questions that delve into personal beliefs or, like, background?
Unfortunately, illegal questions do pop up, even though they shouldn't.
Yeah.
If you're asked something that feels inappropriate or discriminatory, you have a few options.
Okay, let's talk about those options. What's the best way to respond without, like, jeopardizing my chances?
You could politely decline to answer, stating that you don't feel the question is relevant to your qualifications for the role.
Right.
Or you could try to reframe the question, focusing on the skills and experience that are relevant.
So if they ask about my marital status, I could say, I'm fully committed to my career and confident I can meet the demands of this role.
Exactly. It asserts your boundaries while highlighting your dedication to the job.
Okay.
And remember, if you feel uncomfortable or discriminated against, you always have the right to end the interview.
That's so important to remember. It's about knowing your worth and not tolerating, like, disrespectful or inappropriate behavior. But even with all this preparation, sometimes interviews just, don't go well. What's the best way to handle rejection?
Rejection is tough, but it's a part of the process.
Yeah.
Don't take it personally. Sometimes it's simply a matter of fit.
Right.
Maybe your skills weren't quite what they were looking for, or their company culture wasn't the right match for you.
Rejection can be so discouraging, especially after multiple interviews. Any advice for staying motivated and positive throughout the job search?
Remember your goals.
Okay.
Why are you looking for a new job?
No.
What are you hoping to achieve? Visualize yourself succeeding.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to reach out for support. Talk to friends, family, or a career counselor.
Having a support system is so important. It's crucial to have people in your corner who can offer encouragement and guidance.
Yeah,
But even with support, the job search can be a long and winding road.
it can.
Any final thoughts for those who are feeling lost or overwhelmed?
The job search is a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time, effort, and resilience.
Yeah.
Don't give up. Keep learning. Keep growing. Keep putting yourself out there.
That's such a great reminder. We've covered so much ground in part 2 of our deep dive into answering tough interview questions for dummies. Remember, interviews are a skill, and like any skill, they can be learned and mastered with practice, preparation, and a positive mindset. We'll be right back for the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into answering tough interview questions for dummies. We talked about, prepping for all those tricky questions, nailing your body language, even handling the curveballs. But let's zoom in on some of those subtle things that can really make you, shine. Yeah. One thing that often gets overlooked is the importance of being a good listener,
Right.
not just a good talker.
Okay.
Active listening shows that you're engaged, you're processing information, and you genuinely care about what the interviewer has to say. Because it goes
Yeah.
beyond just waiting for your turn to speak.
So it's about really absorbing what they're saying,
Yeah.
not just formulating your next response in your head. Are there any specific techniques for becoming a better listener, in an interview setting? I mean, it's easy to get caught up in your own nerves and
Right.
forget to truly listen.
Absolutely. Maintain good eye contact, nod your head, and use verbal cues like yes or I understand to show that you're following along.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to ask clarifying questions if something isn't clear. It demonstrates that you're paying attention and want to fully grasp their perspective.
Those are great tips. It's amazing how much those little things can communicate. What about those awkward silences? Those moments where the conversation stalls and nobody knows what to say. How do you handle those gracefully without seeming flustered?
Silences can definitely feel uncomfortable, but they're not always a bad thing.
Okay.
Sometimes the interviewer is intentionally creating a pause
Right.
to see how you react.
Right.
They might be observing your body language or waiting to see if you'll elaborate on a previous point.
Right.
It's a chance to show your composure and thoughtfulness.
So instead of feeling pressured to fill the silence, I should just relax and see where it goes.
Exactly. Maintain your composure, stay engaged, and if the silence continues for too long, you could always ask a thoughtful question to kind of get the conversation flowing again. It shows that you're comfortable with those pauses and can use them strategically.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about being present in the moment and not letting those silences throw you off your game. Now let's talk about what happens after the interview. Besides sending that thank you note, is there anything else I should be doing?
If the company hasn't given you a timeline for their decision-making process, it's perfectly acceptable to ask about their expected time frame.
Okay.
It shows you're proactive and genuinely interested in the opportunity without being pushy.
So instead of just sitting around anxiously waiting, I should politely inquire about the next steps.
Precisely. And if they offer feedback, be sure to listen carefully and take it to heart.
Right.
It can be incredibly valuable for, honing your interview skills for future opportunities.
Yeah, it's all about learning and growing from each experience, whether it's a success or a setback. Well, we've reached the end of our deep dive into answering tough interview questions for dummies. As our listener, heads out to tackle those interviews, what are the most important takeaways you want them to remember?
Remember that preparation is key. Research the company, practice your answers, and be ready to showcase your skills and experience in a way that truly captures their attention. But it's not just about what you say, it's also about how you present yourself.
Right.
Project confidence, show genuine enthusiasm, and demonstrate that you're truly interested in the opportunity.
Yeah.
And never underestimate the power of asking questions and seeking feedback. It's all part of the learning and growth process.
What fantastic advice. We've covered so much ground today, like everything from deciphering job ads to handling those pressure interviews with grace and confidence.
Really, yeah.
So we hope you feel like empowered to go out there and absolutely nail those interviews.
Absolutely. And remember, the job search can be challenging, but it's also an incredible opportunity for growth and self-discovery. Yeah. Embrace the journey, stay positive, and never give up on your dreams.
Those are words to live by. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back next time with another fascinating topic to explore. Until then, good luck with your job search, and remember, you've got this.